the Allied Gardens Grantville Kiwanis Club to be able to design and present the plaque to them. This plaque was made possible by individual donations who supported the design, the process, and the mounting of the plaque. And that we are very thankful for. The plaque is located right over here to your left behind me, underneath that bouquet of flowers. And I'll just read it to you, and I invite you later to go and take photos and take a good close look at it. Kiwanis Club of Grantville, Allied Gardens, World War II veterans. Owen E. Gene Elmore, Commander U.S. Navy, naval aviator who served in both European and Pacific theaters, 2 stars awarded for that. VPB 110, Exeter, England, on the invasion of Normandy. VPB 121, Tinian Air Base on the invasion of Iwo Jima and the Berlin airlift, as well as in Korea. Over on the right-hand corner is John Jack Scott, First Class Petty Officer, D-Day, Normandy, U.S. Malloy, DE 7901. Minesweeping the Yellow Sea, USS Thompson, DMS 38, Korea, with 7 battle stars, and the USS Hanson, DDR 832. Over in the left-on corner is John G. Peterson's career. Private First Class United States Army, 64th Engineer, Topo Battalion, Tokyo, Japan. World War II Victory Medal, Army of Occupation Medal, and proud to have served my country, in quotations. Byron Newman, Technician, 5th grade, United States Army. Served in Korea at the headquarters company of the 24th Corps as a writer for the Sunday pictorial newspaper for the 50,000 Korea Station GIs in Korea. World War II Occupation Victory Medal and Army Occupation Medal of Japan. It's a beautiful plaque. Wings in Corpus Christi, Texas in 1943. He flew a B-24 4-engine aircraft in both the Pacific and European theaters, including several bombing missions on D-Day, June 6th. Coming up here soon. 1944. And in February 1945, he flew support missions for the invasion of Iwo Jima. And after the war, he participated in a heavy transport pilot lift for the Berlin airlift, a post-war humanitarian assistance mission. Overall, Gene flew 162 missions, service to his country. In his post-war career, Gene was an engineer, businessman, author of 3 novels, and a publisher. He is still in Navy Reserve today. How about that? Gene joined the Kiwanis in 1969, and more than 50 years of membership. He has served in practically every leadership role in our club. He served as club president in 1974 and 1975, then as Division 21 Lieutenant Governor, 1985 to 1986. He also won the Kiwanian of the Year Award in 1982, in 1983, and is one of the most respected members of our club.
Hello, I'm James. I'm the son of Gene. We'd like to thank Gene, Byron Newman, John Peterson, and Jack Scott. Thank you for your service. And also, when you're in Walmart or Target or anywhere, when you see somebody in uniform, walk up to them and say thank you for your service. They love that. I've always gotten a positive response. So, and I'm not... There we go. Now you can hear me, right? Okay, I'm done. Hey, that's it.
Okay, little brother, thanks.
Yeah.
I think most of us are familiar with that infamous date in December of 1941. Yes, I'm talking about December 31st, 1941, when Gene Elmore turned 18 and was able to join the military. 15 months later, he was able to receive his wings and his commission as ensign in the United States Navy. As earlier said, he was able to go over to on the European front, where he flew the privateer, the Liberator. Excuse me, privateer came later. And back then, all the bombers had 3 officers: pilot, co-pilot, navigator. He started off as a navigator, did his time, learned his trade, moved up to co-pilot, and took his time, learned his trade. Then he finally, after time, gave.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, finally made became a pilot. That took him approximately just under 5 weeks. Matter of fact, his first pilot that worked with him was a guy named Joseph Kennedy. Some of you might know his younger brothers, John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy, on it. So he was in the same squadron as Joe Kennedy. All he ever had on, he never had a bomb on his airplane. He always had depth charges until June 5th, 1944, when they gave me a 20-minute dissertation on how to drop bombs. And then on June 6, 1944, he made 6 trips over to France, 3 to Utah Beach and 3 to Omaha Beach. And his job was, prior to that, was making sure there was no U-boats in the English Channel. He is 1 or 2 U.S. Navy pilots to actually sink a U-boat in the English Channel. So then he was shipped, once the English Channel was secured, he was shipped over to the Pacific Front, where he did fly the privateer. And as earlier said, kind of highlighted some of his flights then. The war ended in August of 1945, and he did all this flying, all of these missions, prior to the old age of 22. So he was pretty young at that age. Then he was recalled for the Berlin airlift, and there's a couple interesting things about that. One is he flew over 1,200 Berlin airlift flights in the 15 months he was there. And what was the number one thing that he hauled over to Berlin? Coal, to keep the furnaces going. Medical supplies, food, and other things, but the main thing they had to haul was coal over there. And it was during that time, and this is a little piece of history that my father told me, that you probably will never find in a history book. But Joseph Stalin made a mention comment in a public address that they've stopped them by the roads coming in. They've stopped them by the water coming in. Maybe it's time to stop them by the air coming in. Well, as you can guess, the next day my dad was a little nervous about taking off until he got to the end of the runway. Well, thank you. Until they got to I'm not as tall as some of these big boys here. Anyway, he got to the end of the runway, looked down there at the end of the runway, and there sat 2 B-29s, identical to the ones used to drop the bombs in Japan. To this day, my dad has no idea whether those planes had atomic bombs on them or not, but one thing he knows is Joseph Stalin never made another hint about stopping the air. Going to keep this moving and everything, but the one thing my brother and I definitely want to do was thank you for them being here, being honored, and they are quite the gentlemen that are classified as part of the greatest generation. So, I have my brother and I thank you.
Newman. Hailing from Warren, Ohio, Dr. Byron Newman spent more than 60 years as a licensed optometrist, following his service in the Army. After graduating as a journalism student from Warren G. Harding High School, Byron served in the U.S. Army at Fort Belvoir, serving there at the same time as John Peterson, but they never knew each other at the time. Small world. Byron went on to Seoul, Korea in 1946 and worked for a U.S. Army newspaper, putting his experience as a journalist to use, and was then honorably discharged in 1948. Having joined the Van Nuys Kiwanis Club in 1971, Byron has put together a long and storied resume in 6 different Kiwanis clubs, including his last 16 years as a member of the Grantville Allied Gardens Club. He has served as a club president 2 times, lieutenant governor of Division 25, and as the editor-in-chief of the California, Nevada, Hawaii Kiwanis District Newsletter.
I did go to Korea after my service in the Army base at Fort Belvoir, Virginia, where I had my basic training. And after that, they sent me to Camp Stoneman, California, where I sat for about 3-4 weeks waiting for orders to ship out. And one day, one of our members of the waiting group came up and said, hey, we got our orders, we're going. So somebody says, where are we going? He says, ETO. And so the fellow says, the European Theater of Operations? He said, no, the eastern tip of Okinawa. So we didn't go to Okinawa. We did stop in Japan for a look-see. Pretty messy, rubble everywhere in Yokohama and Kamakura. I took pictures with his camera that I had just got, but pictures came back with black circles because I couldn't pull the front part out. Couldn't get any pictures, but there were plenty of pictures later. Then they sent me back on the ship to Korea, South Korea. Port of Incheon that had a big sign saying, welcome to Incheon, best ambush port in the Pacific. But it wasn't a very good port as far as I was concerned. You had to jump off the boat onto a Higgins boat where the front drops down, and then it would run to shore, and you'd run on shore carrying your duffel bag. So I stood out in the cold. It's very cold in Korea in the winter.
Originally from Winslow, Arizona, John Pete moved to San Diego with his family while he was still in high school. Drafted in the Army at the age of 18, he graduated from boot camp and was sent to Fort Belvoir, Virginia, where he was assigned to the engineering school, where the Army trained him as a cartographer. In October 1946, John was sent to Yokohama, Japan, as a member of the 64th Engineer Battalion, and later stationed in Tokyo. His assignment in Japan was brief, and he was discharged in March 1947. In 1951, he took a job at Kettenberg Boat Works in Point Loma, right over here on the bay, where over the next 38 years he would work his way up to vice president. Raising his family in Allied Gardens, John joined our club in May 1966 and is closing in on Bob Frankhauser's record of service time in our club. He is a 3-time winner of the Kiwanian of the Year Award, an award which has been named in his honor.
Nice guy I am, so here I am. This is what you get. I'm going to mention 2 life-altering things that have happened in my life. Of course, we've all had things that have changed our lives around, and some were good, some were bad. But the 2 that I think of the most that changed my life was when I joined the military. I was drafted in 1946 and joined the Army and became an Army engineer. But joining the Army or being drafted into the Army did change my life a lot. I had never been north of Los Angeles. I had never been east of Kansas. And the first place I went was Fort Lewis, Washington in the Northwest. Then after that, I took a troop train across the country, which took a week, to Fort Belvoir, Virginia. And after that, I was back at in Washington State at Fort Lawton, where we shipped out for Japan. So then I was in Japan until March of 1947. So during the short time that I was in the service, I saw a lot of this country that I never would have seen if I hadn't been in the military. But the main thing that the military did for me, it made me grow up. I had never been away from home before, and after I'd been in the Army, I learned that you had to learn to fit in. You had to learn to respect your officers. You had to learn discipline. You had to learn a lot of things, and it gave me a lot of maturity that I did not have before I was in the Army. But the main thing that it gave me was when I got out was the GI Bill, which enabled me to go to college and get a college education, which I probably would not have had if I had not served my little short time in the service. And from there, I got married and had a family and moved to Allied Gardens in 1954. Then the second life-altering experience that I had was in 1966. In 1966, when my neighbor Paul Christman came across the street and asked me to join him at a Kiwanis breakfast. I did join him at that breakfast that morning and the next morning, and I really enjoyed it. We had a speaker, and I met a lot of nice people there. I was asked to join the club, and I did, and now next month, will be my 55th year in Kiwanis. It has changed my life. Before, I'd lived in Allied Gardens at that time for 12 years, and I probably knew 10 or 12 people on the street that I lived on, and then I moved to a different house, and I knew maybe 10 or 12 people on that street. But I was not active in the community at all, but I did learn about other people and community service, and it has changed my life, and I thank Kiwanis for that. And before I get through here, I want to thank Kathy and the Kiwanis Club for putting on this event. It's been a wonderful experience for me, and I'm very happy to say thank you.
Honor John Joseph Jack Scott, a native of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Jack was in high school when World War II erupted. After studying electrical engineering at Purdue University, he served as an electrician's mate, first class, in the United States Navy from 1943 to 1953. He served aboard the USS Malloy. He's wearing his cap right there. A destroyer escort, and helped assist with the Allied landing at Omaha Beach in Normandy on D-Day. He and the Malloy spent time patrolling the English Channel in 1944, then served aboard a minesweeper until the end of the war. He first joined Kiwanis in 1967 and has been in and out of our club several times over the years, but he notably served as our president in 1987 to 1988 and is a two-time winner of the Kiwanian of the Year Award. He spent much of the 1970s and 1980s and as an advisor to the San Diego State University Circle Club, helping develop the student leaders at the university. Today, Jack volunteers with the USS Midway Museum at the Embarcadero, where he has been an active role in a docent job, volunteering since 2005.
And welcome. I'm honored and privileged to talk a little bit about Jack. Neil, I want to thank you very much, not only for putting this on, and Kathy, and Alan, at Grantville Allied Gardens Kiwanis Club. Great flyover during the invocation. That was just splendid. Well done. Give you a little bit of history about me before I talk about Jack. I've known Jack since August 27th, 1978, when I joined the San Diego Circle K Club at San Diego State University. Since then, Jack and I have become not only good friends, but he's become a mentor. He taught me about electrical work. He's guided me through my ups and downs of my career. He's been there with me, and now later on in life, I'm glad to say I'm here with him and to help him out whenever I can. We get together on Tuesdays whenever possible, before the coronavirus hit, of course. That kind of slowed things down, but we used to go out to lunch every Tuesday. ever since then, we've been trying to get together whenever we can, and I'm happy to say that, you know, Jack has not only been part of San Diego State Circle K as a sponsor, but he's also been a mentor to many, many students out at San Diego State. He's been a friend, and like I said, he was a docent on the USS Midway. He's back on there again. His famous engine room number 3 will probably be named after him or something. But keep this in mind, 108. I'll talk about 108 in a little bit here. But you guys have heard a lot about Jack and what he's done in the military, but he's done so much more in the community as well. Being a president of Grand Valley Gardens Kiwanis Club, he got me involved as well in the Circle K. He's been with me. I have to say, when I was in the FBI on the East Coast, we kept in touch throughout all of that time. Then came back to San Diego, and we've still been in contact, and I'm happy to say that. For those of you that don't know, there is a video, a 3-part, it's actually a 4-part series, but I think one of them is duplicated, but it is stories about Jack Scott on YouTube. I invite all of you to go to it at some point because it gives a lot of history that Jack has and what he's done. It's been actually great. Jack, can you come up here for a second? So when Jack goes down to the Midway, he stands there for 8 hours a day, and as I call it, he goes up 3 flights of steps to go down 5 flights of steps to get down to engine room number 3. And then on the way back, he goes back up 5 flights of steps to come back down 5 more decks of steps to get to his car. He still drives, and when he gets home, he's got another 3 flights of steps to get up to his place, and 3 more flights of steps coming down. He's in better health than I am. I gotta admit, that's incredible. So, Jack entered into the Navy. He went to boot camp on April 1st, on April Fool's Day. That was not a joke. He actually did join that on that day, but he said, well, let me join the Navy. I want to see the world, tour the country, get fed, get paid, have a good time. And they said, well, guess what, Mr. Scott? You're going to go ahead and go to war. He goes, what war? Next thing you know, he's at D-Day in Normandy, and he got out of boot camp 16 weeks later. He was on USS Malloy, the DE 791, and something I didn't know when Jack talks to me about some of his anecdotes and stories about the war, that I didn't know that a destroyer gets turned into a minesweeper, which was the DMS, what was that, Jack? DMS 38. That was kind of interesting because he was on the minesweep there, and he was also in the English Channel where the Germans were firing upon him. Thank God they had bad aim because he's still around, and so is the ship. So that was, that's right, the DMS 38 was the USS Thompson. So Jack was discharged from the military not once but twice. He was out for a short period of time and then rejoined. But you're never really out of the military, as you may have heard, that when you leave and get discharged, you're in the reserves. So he was in U.S. Navy Reserves, and then in I guess it was about 1946, he re-entered again. Oh, I'm sorry, and about 1946 he re-entered again. He's been down at the Panama Canal, and as I understand, he never actually went through the Panama Canal. He got turned back and turned away and started heading across the Atlantic over into Europe. So Jack has done a lot of that and has quite a history of what he's done, and still contributes to the community, not only through Kiwanis, but also as a docent. He's got over, 14,000, 16,000 hours? 15,000. I knew I was close. I know it was in the 1,000 range. He loves being there on the USS Midway. It is kind of his third home. He's got Kiwanis, he's got all of us friends here, he's got his regular home, and he's got the USS Midway. He's glad to be back there, so I invite you to go down to engine room number 3 to see Jack. Currently he's working, he usually works Sundays, half day, and then Wednesdays all day, and then I think on Fridays. but he's got a limited schedule, so you might want to check with him. I know he's working Sundays, and I think you're going back on Wednesdays, right, Jack? I am really happy and honored to say that I've been a friend of Jack's for 43 years. He's an outstanding person. He loves everybody and everything, but I've learned over the years there's 3 things he doesn't like. Well, actually 2 I can remember right now, but Mexican food, which I think he's in the wrong place for that, and mustard, which I have mustard at his house, and he still has his original container that is still in the refrigerator because he never touches it. So, Jack, I just want to say it's an honor, it's a privilege to know you and have this tribute for you and the other honorees for this tribute today. You will be remembered, as all other 3 of you will, and all the other people on these plaques here will be remembered for years and years. I am from a military family as well. My father served in Korea and Vietnam in MACV-SOG Special Operations Group. He's buried at Arlington National Cemetery, and so I hope to get a plaque up here someday soon for him. My son is in the Navy, here stationed at 32nd Street Naval Base, and my brother-in-law is a captain in the United States Navy as well. So with that, Jack, thank you very much. We thank you all for your service and for your time and your dedication to this country. God bless you all.